Science has proven that nutrition plays an important role in the prevention and treatment of many serious diseases, among them diabetes, heart disease, and of course, obesity. As of 2013, 37 states require licensure of dietitians and nutritionists. New York is not one of them. Many people are unknowingly being put at risk by unqualified practitioners dispensing false, outdated, or limited information. More than ever before, consumers are being faced with a dizzying array of products and advice, and it's time that the credibility is questioned. Members of the Long Island Dietetic Association wanted to share some of their stories and experiences that have risen due to a lack of state licensure. Here are some of their stories.
My name is Elizabeth Madison, and I am a registered dietitian and a certified nutrition and wellness coach. I have a full-time private practice in Queens, and my office is located in a building that also has a physical therapy center and a gym. And I get referrals from various sources within that building, and what I find is that sometimes the individuals that want to see me, they come with diets that are high in protein or some other type of diet that has not been customized for that person or does not identify or address their medical conditions like elevated cholesterol, elevated triglycerides, hypertension, diabetes. And so these are the wrong diets for these individuals, and they're very confused about what is the best way to take care of their bodies, lose weight, and be healthy. And so I find that as a registered dietitian, I spend a lot of time with them basically debunking a lot of the information that's misinformation that they received, and then working with them to develop a plan that is going to be effective for them. And so one of my challenges as a registered dietitian is, first of all, explaining what is a registered dietitian and how does that differ from anybody else who calls himself like a nutritionist, and then also helping them develop getting the right information so they can lose the weight or get as healthy as they can get.
My personal experience, I'm a dietetic technician and I do private counseling at a gym. And I've had a couple of people come in to me recently with the whole gluten-free craze. I have people coming in that have seen naturopaths who come in for nutritional counseling because they want to lose weight. And I find that they're on these very restrictive diets where they're told that they can't eat eggs, they can't eat gluten, they can't eat dairy. So there are these entire food groups that are completely eliminated from their diet. And when I asked them why the naturopath that they saw made that recommendation, they said, well, they did some kind of finger prick test with them, which isn't even a valid blood test. But they believe it because the person is a naturopath. So now they have all these added challenges where they're, in their 40s and they're just not getting the nutrients that they need, and they end up spending an exorbitant amount of money on gluten-free products, which they may or may not need.
A lot of my patients watch popular daytime television programs where medical personnel give them a lot of information, and I did hear that one doctor was recommending that patients use bicarbonate of soda 3 times a day. Now, bicarbonate of soda is baking soda, and baking soda has a very high sodium content. Well, a very high sodium content is contraindicated for people who have congestive heart failure, and this person actually did have congestive heart failure. So when I told her that this was very high in salt and this was really bad for her, then she stopped using it.
I'm a private practice dietitian in a fitness setting. So I observe other personal trainers who give their nutrition advice and what they plan on doing after taking a 2-hour certification. What I've observed is after a 2-hour certification, they talk about overcharging customers just for nutrition advice, upwards to the amounts of $2,000, and also giving advice such as calories don't matter for weight loss as long as they're good calories. So there's just a lot of misinformation being given out there from people that are really not qualified to give nutrition advice.
I had someone who came to me. She's around 30 years old, 230 pounds, 2 kids. She needed to lose weight, obviously. She had diabetes and hypertension. And her trainer had given her a very, very high protein, very low carb, very low fat diet. It was completely a poor fit for this woman and her medical conditions. It didn't address any of her medical conditions. And she presented me with this written food plan, which looked like just a template. And so we had to and she was not feeling well. She had a lot of fatigue. Her hair was dry. Her nails were dry and brittle. So I had to educate her about the appropriate diet for her, look at her medical conditions, and integrate that into a food plan that worked for her. And so I actually get those kind of situations rather frequently that just kind of demonstrate that people really need to see a qualified health professional, a registered dietitian that knows how to develop food plans appropriate for people, not just for weight loss, but have co-occurring medical issues.
I recently saw a woman who is a bilateral amputee, and she has a pressure ulcer, and the pressure ulcer was very, very bad. However, the patient's daughter felt that she could get all the nutrients she needed from fruits and vegetables. So the only foods that this woman was eating was fruit juices and fruit extracts and vegetables. She wasn't eating any protein at all. So needless to say, the pressure ulcer got worse. So when I went into the home and I started working with the daughter, because the daughter was the one who was purchasing the foods, I explained, the role of protein and its impact on wound healing. I convinced the daughter of how she could incorporate higher protein foods in the diet, even though I wouldn't be completely disregarding her nutrition philosophy, even though the philosophy was not appropriate for her mother. But I worked with the daughter, and I got her to choose some healthier foods while she could still use the fruits and vegetables. And the patient's pressure ulcer is improving.
I had a patient that was admitted to the hospital, young man, 40s, had a heart attack, and he was morbidly overweight. And the doctor had asked for me to do a diet education on low sodium diet because of the heart implications. But he wasn't really looking at the whole picture of the patient. And this was quite a few years ago, and I think we've come a long way since then. But in talking to the patient, beside himself, could not stop crying. And I kept asking him, what's the matter? Well, it turns out he had a daughter who's going to be 16 in a few months, and his Sweet 16 party was all planned out and paid for, and he didn't think he was going to live long enough to dance with her at this party. So we started talking about lifestyle changes, and not just the low sodium diet the doctor wanted, but how that's, with the exercise and the low carbohydrate eating, and we kind of paired that with the low fat. And I guess about 6 months later, I had gotten, we call them satisfaction surveys. So a patient had come in and wrote a really nice survey about me being his dietitian and how great. Pam O'Brien was a great dietitian. She literally saved my life. Now, I didn't know he was admitted back to the hospital, but he came back in because he lost 100 pounds and needed to have his gallbladder taken out. And to this day, he was able to dance with his daughter and just the healthy lifestyle changes. So I think they really underscore what we can do as a profession. And we need some kind of recognition and some way to control that with the doctors and let them know what we can do.
A lot more people out there that can be dangerous, that are making all these recommendations to people without having any credentials or standards that they have to uphold, where, we would never do that. We would probe, and that's what we're trained to do. So I think that's what licensure would provide, would, at least give people some direction in terms of where to go and let them know that we have those standards to separate us from other people.
I think licensure is necessary just to protect the public, to know that there are people out there who are qualified to give them nutrition advice and who are not trying to rip them off.
One of the things that folks don't realize is that food is in part of everybody's life, whether you're a nutrition professional or not. And I think that people have some weird food things going on, and it's important to have a governing body in place that helps people know the myths from the facts, and that we can help project healthy lifestyles. I mean, it spreads to everywhere. If we healthy lifestyles growing up, it's less health costs later on, and it's less government money spent on taking care of people that can't take care of themselves. And it's just a really important thing that we need to do, and we need to be recognized and represented by you.
There are lots of individuals who are out there that call themselves nutritionists, and they do not have the training that we have that will help, that will ensure that people are getting the right information. Anybody can Google information, and you do not know it is accurate. We are trained in identifying correct and accurate information and educating people about that. And our training is what separates us from other people who do not have our background, do not have our skills, and do not have the requirements for continuing education that we have. And in order to protect the public, just like any other health professional that's licensed, you want to make sure that these individuals get the correct information that protects their health and optimizes their health.